Welcome to day 3 of the 30-day holiday video challenge. Today we're making Halloween mini pavlovas. Hi there foodie friends, my name is Carly and welcome to my channel Adventures in Yum. Before we get into today's video, I have a passion for learning about creating and trying new foods, drinks, and especially desserts. If you want to join me on my yummy adventures, especially for this 30-day challenge, then make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so that you'll know when I upload new videos every week. Now, let's dive into today's video. First, preheat the oven to 250 degrees Fahrenheit or 121 degrees Celsius. To start our batter, we have 6 large room temperature egg whites in a large mixing bowl. We're going to whip these using either a hand mixer or a stand mixer on medium speed until they get nice and foamy. This should take about 1 to 2 minutes. We're then adding in 3/4 teaspoon of cream of tartar and thoroughly mixing it into the egg whites. If you don't have cream of tartar, you can certainly use lemon juice or white wine vinegar. You'll just have to add a little bit more because they're in a liquid state. We then slowly start to add 1.5 cups or 300 grams of granulated sugar to the egg whites while whipping on a medium-low speed. You can certainly use superfine or caster sugar instead of granulated. You may just need to slightly adjust the amount that you add. Once the sugar has slowly been added to the egg whites, we whip for about 30 to 60 seconds before sprinkling in 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. We mix that into our meringue and then turn the mixer to a medium-high or high speed until we get soft peaks. Once we achieve soft peaks, we add a pinch or about 1/8 teaspoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. We then mix that on high speed until we achieve stiff peaks. You can certainly do just one design, but I couldn't help myself and I had to do a couple. Because of this, I divided the meringue batter between 3 bowls. If the meringue does start to deflate at all, I recommend whipping it again to stiff peaks right before adding it to our piping bag so that it will keep its shape when piping. Our first design is a simple ghost, so we're adding our plain meringue to a piping bag fitted with a Wilton tip 1A. Before we pipe our ghost, we add a little meringue to the corners of the parchment paper so that it will stick to the tray and you'll avoid a possible tragic loss of your hard work later down the line. We then start our ghost by piping a swirl of meringue. Once we complete our second rotation of meringue, we are continuously piping as we start to pipe swirls directly on top of each other. Once we complete about 3 swirls on top of each other, release pressure on the piping bag and quickly swoop to finish the top of the pavlova. Our next mini pavlova is a jack-o'-lantern. We first add some orange food color gel a little at a time until we're happy with the result. Once the meringue is back to stiff peaks, we add it to a different piping bag fitted with a Wilton 1A piping tip. To pipe the pumpkins, we pipe a couple swirls of meringue onto the parchment paper, just like we did with the ghosts. We continue piping until you have 1 swirl on top of the meringue, but don't continue piping like we did with the ghosts. We then aim our piping bag perpendicular to the surface of the sheet tray. Apply pressure and slowly pipe a small vertical column of the meringue. As you finish the small column of meringue, release pressure and move your hand toward the center to slightly curve the top of the pumpkin inward. Pipe the next column right next to the first one, making sure that they continuously touch all the way. This is to ensure that there are no holes in the final baked product. We continue this same pattern until we have a fully piped pumpkin. We then use an offset spatula to clean up the meringue on top of the columns. Here we're simply aiming to combine the tops of the columns and clean up those pointy edges. And finally, we're dyeing the rest of the meringue batter black and re-whipping it to stiff peaks. You will have to add quite a bit of food gel to get a nice deep black, so a way to help get a darker color is by adding food gel directly into the bag so that when you pipe, the outside meringue will have a darker black color without having to add the entire bottle of food coloring. We add the meringue to a piping bag fitted with a Wilton 1M piping tip and black food gel on the inside of the bag. We then pipe the exact same way we piped the ghost meringues. I originally intended for these to be cauldrons, but that proved to be a little more difficult than expected. So I'll have to experiment some more and get back to you on that one. But for now, we're going to call these black hole mini pavlovas. We're also using some of the black meringue batter in a piping bag fitted with a Wilton tip 4 to add little faces to both the ghosts and the jack-o'-lanterns. Once we're done piping all of the meringue, we bake these at 250 degrees Fahrenheit or 121 degrees Celsius for 1 hour, and then we turn the oven off and leave them in there for another hour to an hour and a half. Once we take them out, we let them chill on the sheet tray for a little longer, about 15 to 30 minutes, and then we carefully remove them from the parchment paper and store them in an airtight container for up to about 3 days. Before we finish these scrumptious treats, if you're getting value out of this video, then please make sure to hit that like button, click subscribe, and ring that bell to be notified about my latest video. To finish these, we're adding some yummy fillings. Make sure that when serving these not to fill them until either the day of or right before serving. For the pumpkins, we're using a piping bag to pipe the same kind of pumpkin pastry cream I mentioned in yesterday's video. You can either leave it plain, add some whipped cream on top, or add Halloween sprinkles like I decided to do. For our little ghost friend, we're adding caramel pastry cream using a piping bag. You can use a spoon when adding your fillings, but I find that piping the filling is a lot easier and it results in a cleaner finished product. We then add some homemade apple pie filling. My video is linked above and in the description. And finally, we add some lovely luscious salted caramel, and that recipe video is also linked in this video as well. For the black hole pavlovas, I decided to do a combination of the pumpkin and caramel pastry creams, and then I finished it off with a swirl of salted caramel. In all honesty, this was my first time making pavlovas of any kind, so I was really happy with how they turned out. The pumpkin pavlova in particular was actually my favorite. It tasted like a light, unique version of a pumpkin pie. You can also find these Halloween mini pavlovas on my website, adventuresinYum.net. The link is in the description below. Make sure to come back tomorrow for day 4, where we're taking a savory detour with a creepy good take on pizza. If you're interested in checking out some of the products I used in this video, please make sure to check out the video description below for their Amazon links. Thank you so much for joining me today, foodie friends. I'll see you next time for another scary good, yummy adventure.